Hello and welcome to Comic Book Movie Oblivion, the podcast about feature films based on comic books and comic strips that people have stopped talking about. We are your hosts, Jordan and Kumar. That's me.
And me.
And this week we are talking about Robot Dreams from 2023. Very recent, based on the comic by Sara Varon from 2006 or 2007. Pause the podcast.
Every week I know it's coming, and every week I forget to think about it.
I think this one's a bit spoilery.
Yeah?
I think so. And...
yeah, you're right, actually. So, if you plan to watch this film, and it's out there.
It's readily available, except in Australia. I don't even think it's out in Australia yet. It is out.
Most of our listeners are in Australia.
Yes. It is out. Easily available if you're the type that's going to watch an animation.
A 90 minutes dialogue-free...
well, it's more than 90. It's like an hour 40 or something, 45.
So like a 98, 100-minute long film with no dialogue. If that's your jam, pause now.
Yeah.
If not, listen on.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think that about covers it. So this is by Sara Varon, as I mentioned, published. But I haven't read any of her other stuff. I think she's got a book called Cat and Chicken, which is kind of a big deal.
It's mentioned in the film, yeah.
One
of Doc's neighbors is Cat
Easter egg, yes.
Yeah.
A little Easter egg in there. Published by First Second Books, which is a publisher that kind of does graphic novels like... I kind of associate them with the kids' like school library market. That might be inaccurate because they also published Eddie Campbell, at least one of his books.
When you say kids' school library market, can you expand on that?
I mean, like the kind of books, the YA type comics, like the Raina Telgemeier Smile type stuff that shows up in your kids' school library.
Yes.
All those kinds of graphic novels. I feel like First Second publishes quite a few of those. I might be mischaracterizing them. Because, as I said, they did publish at least one Eddie Campbell book that I know of. Okay, so this is a 200-page comic, silent. It reminded me of... have you ever read Shel Silverstein's The Missing Piece Meets the Big O?
No.
Well, you got to read that book.
Okay.
That's pretty great and special. I found this pretty surprisingly clever. I didn't know what to expect coming into it. This is much like The Killer, is a movie that came out, and then I was kind of looking at it or reading about it, and was like, oh, this is based on a comic.
Right.
Like,
it was a surprise.
And I probably by accident in this case, because I didn't even watch it. Whereas with The Killer, I was looking at the credits of the movie, and it's like, well, there's a weird credit in here. And then it turned out to be based on a comic. This time, I don't even remember how I heard that it was based on a comic. Okay, so it's organized into months.
Yes.
So it's a calendar year starting in August and ending in August over these 200 pages. So we get a big, like a title card kind of page that just tells you the month. So that's how the chapters are kind of broken up. Each chapter is a month. And it's anthropomorphized animals. This world is populated by all different animals, a bit like BoJack Horseman, but they don't have much animal behavior.
No. It's very surface level world building. So essentially, it's a city. We don't know where it is.
It's New York.
Well, in the film, it's New York.
It's definitely, because we get the street address. Oh, no, it does say 425th Fifth Avenue. You're right, but she lives in Brooklyn. I felt like there was some reason I knew that it was... maybe I'm wrong. Okay, anyway.
It's fine. I mean, it's it's a little more mysterious in the comic.
You're right.
But it's very definite that it's New York in the film.
I think I was working off the author bio and assuming. But just Fifth Avenue sounds like...
she does live in New York, though.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Anyway, so, and as you say, the animals, they don't have animal characteristics. They have
occasional animal characters. So sometimes
the dog's tail wags.
The dog's tail wags, and he can sniff. He can sniff stuff out.
That's true.
Does that once. The birds do fly.
That's true. They do. They fly south for the winter.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they live in apartments. It's a bit like, I suppose, Zootopia, that film, perhaps. But you say anthropomorphized. They have opposable thumbs and fingers.
Yes.
So, for example, the dog doesn't have paws. I think his feet are paws, but his hands are human hands.
Yes. So it starts out with this dog ordering a robot.
Yeah.
Which is delivered to his house, and he assembles it, and then the robot is his friend.
Yeah.
He's made a friend. Now, immediately I have questions about the ownership of a sentient being.
It's funny. I agree, but I wasn't asking those questions at this point.
Yes.
I think because the comic is so...
It's sweet.
It's sweet and simplified.
Yes.
We're not asking questions because we're getting a very surface level awareness of this world.
Yes.
It's just a charming, sort of like children's book level narrative where a lonely dog, he has hands, but he's also wearing a collar,
Yes.
who builds a robot friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're hit by this kind of strangeness of, like, whoa, what is this? Like, there's this dog building a robot, and they go to the library, and they're like... all sorts of weird stuff's happening in the first couple of pages.
Sure. I know exactly where you're coming from because I very much felt that way when it came time to watch the film.
Right.
But at this point with the comic, I'm suspending disbelief
Yes.
because it feels like a fairy tale.
Yes, and actually some later on, to skip way ahead, he builds a snowman out of snow and brings it to life.
Yes.
But then the snowman just walks away. Like, they spend the day, they hang out, and then the snowman goes to live somewhere else or do whatever he wants with his life.
Yeah.
So he doesn't own the snowman, even though he gave the snowman life. And he doesn't, I don't know if maybe this robot has, the whole movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and ScarJo, it was about this, right? Because he owned that AI, and then she was secretly, like, going off and living her life or whatever.
It's good that you're asking these questions.
But I'm not supposed to be asking.
No, you weren't. You weren't. But I did start asking these questions when it came time to watch the movie.
Yeah.
But for now, I mean, this is just a fairy tale world.
Yes.
Snowmen come to life.
Yeah.
You order robots in the mail and make them. There's no question about, are they slaves?
Yeah.
Are they sentient? Do they have souls? You're not asking these questions because it's like the gingerbread man coming to life.
Well, part of it, too, is that they're so happy. The robot's so happy, the dog's so happy.
Yes.
It's not like, oh no, there's never any, like, I want my freedom or anything. They go to the library, they rent Laputa Castle in the Sky because the robot looks similar to the robot. He kind of identifies with it, so that's what they do. They enjoy watching this movie, they're enjoying their life. They go back to the library, this time they get a travel book, and they find out there's this beach they can go to.
Yeah.
So they go to the beach.
They do.
And
the robot does un-robot things. It eats and sleeps.
Yes.
And they catch the Greyhound bus to the beach,
That's right.
which I like.
Yes.
Because he's a dog.
He is a dog. The robot's not so sure about getting into the water, but, it's like, okay, I'll try. He goes in. They have a great time in the water. Then they decide to, sunbathe, just lay in the sun. But when they wake up after a nap and it's time to go, the robot has rusted.
Yep.
Solid, like he can't move.
Yep.
Dog doesn't know what to do about this.
He sort of has a kind of lackluster effort to pick him up.
I don't even know if he's trying to pick him up. He's like...
He sort of looks at him a bit and
He looks at him, he's like,
shrugs.
oh no, what do I do?
Yeah.
And he just kind of leaves.
He just leaves. Yeah.
He just leaves.
Abandons him, I've got in my notes.
Yes.
The dog abandons him.
Yeah. Yes. Robot falls asleep and has a dream.
Where he never went in the water.
Where he never went in the water. He just stayed on the beach reading. He likes to read. That's what one of this robot's hobbies are. And then, after the dog comes out of the water, pats him, gives him a little poke, let's go home. He drives off the dog, and then they walk home. They're both happy. But that was just a dream, the first of the robot dreams. So I think this is supposed to be Labor Day, because that was August, and now we got September. I'm not quite sure how long. But anyway, the dog is also, meanwhile, having a dream. He's having a guilt nightmare, where he just left. It's like not different from reality, where he just leaves the robot. He wakes up.
That's what he did, yeah.
In a fright, he's like, okay, I got to sort this out. He goes back to the library. He gets a book about robot repair. Takes a taxi to the beach. Beach is closed for the season. No trespassing, so he has to just go.
He doesn't try to get in. He's a dog. He doesn't try to dig under the fence.
Well, my thing was, can't you ask someone for help to get the sentient creature that's behind this barbed wire fence?
I was a little discomforted by this. I've got in my notes, why doesn't he dig under the fence?
Yeah. I was just like, can't you ask someone, hey, there's a sentient being over there?
It's visible.
It's visible.
Like, it's not even behind a dune.
Yeah. 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 He's right there. That robot's laying right there.
This thing's alive.
Yeah. So dog just leaves despondent. Again, this is we're up to page 40. This is all happening very fast. We're talking there's like 3-4 panels on a page, silent, you're being given I feel like a fragment of the whole picture of what might have happened. Like, we see them watch one movie together, but the chapter card was September or August, so maybe they watched 30 movies together, right?
We don't know. It's very fragmentary, as you say.
Yeah.
We're getting a very surface level kind of view of this world.
Yes.
Which is appropriate for a kind of...
I agree.
This kind of tale.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of a fable.
Yes.
Or parable.
Excellent word.
Right? Like an animal parable is what it's like. Okay, so now we get some rabbits on a rowboat. They're in the water, and then their boat pops a leak. So they make an emergency stop on shore, and it turns out to be the beach where the robot is. And the robot has a dream that they feed him oil. Now, we know it's a dream because anytime it's a dream, we get wavy panel borders.
Yes.
So kids reading this would not have any
There's no ambiguity, yeah.
There's no ambiguity about what's happening. This is a dream. And he dreams that he's fine after he drinks the oil, and then he goes and he knocks on the door of the dog's house, and then the dream ends because he's not actually knocking on the door. The rabbit's using a paddle to snap his leg off.
Yeah.
So these are not nice rabbits. They're not nice bunny rabbits. They snap the leg off, and then they snap a toe off the leg and use the toe to fix the hole in the boat because it's a perfect fit, and then they throw the leg away back into the sand, and then they get back in their boat and they go. I have to say, the whole time reading this book, I was like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? I was really like on the edge of my seat. Like,
excellent.
How is this going to turn out? How's he going to get out of this? It just seemed to get worse and worse for a robot.
Yeah.
And for dog. Okay, so October comes. Dog's living his life. He goes out, he buys a kite. His kite gets stuck in a tree, and then a duck comes along and saves it out of the tree for him. So he becomes friends with this duck. They fly the kite together, they hang out together. He goes camping with Duck's family, Duck's whole family. Now, I want to point out, this is very important with these two relationships, with the robot and with the duck family. These are friendships.
Platonic.
These are platonic friendships. He goes to Duck's family says, come along.
Yeah.
They don't say it because there's no words, but it's like, come along on a camping trip.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go camping, they go fishing. So the fish are not anthropomorphized.
No, thankfully.
Yeah.
Because they're being killed.
Hey, a dog gets to ride in the front seat coming back. Yeah, and related to the platonic friendships, don't know the genders of any of these
they're genderless.
Beings.
Yeah, they're genderless, essentially.
Yeah. I felt like they were he's, so I'm going to say they're he's.
That's fine.
But they could be it's. So, okay, after the trip, the camping trip, he goes to visit Duck again, knocks on the door, but Duck, there's no answer. He goes home, he gets a postcard from Florida.
They've flown south for the winter.
They've flown south, and it says, see you in the spring, the Duck family. Oh, it says the address on the postcard is Brooklyn, New York.
Ah, well done.
Yeah. It's to Dog, 425 Fifth Avenue, Fifth Place, Brooklyn, New York. So I don't know what the names of the other dogs in this world are. This dog is named Dog.
That's right. The duck is called Duck.
Yes.
The dog is called Dog.
Yes.
Who knows what?
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's kind of sad that this family has gone away, and they've gone away without telling him. So I find this so interesting. It's not ghosting. It's more like he placed more importance on their friendship than they placed on it.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's true.
He had a different reading of what the nature of their friendship was because they had hung out maybe for a whole month. Based on the chapter title, they've gone camping, all that kind of stuff. He thought they were really close, and that they would be the type of people. Their friendship was such that they would tell him before they left for 3 months,
or that they wouldn't just leave.
Yes, yeah,
but they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
October comes around. We get a Halloween scene where he's looking out the window at some trick-or-treaters, and he sees what he thinks is robot magically back, but opens the door and it's actually a cat. And,
in a robot mask.
In a robot mask, in a robot costume, and gives the evil eye to the cat's tail, in particular for some reason. Like, really doesn't like the cat's tail.
Well, he's sad because he thought it was his friend, he thought it was the robot, but he's disappointed that it isn't. November is just 4 panels of robot being buried in snow. Yeah. That's all we get of November. December, Dog has made some new friends, or old friends, who are, I think they must be new friends, because they're aardvarks. And they go sledding, they have snowball fights, they're enjoying their lives together. But when he has a dinner with them, the aardvarks feed him ants. He's a bit freaked out, but he wants to be polite. He eats the ants.
Goes home. He's got a bellyache all night. And then we get an amazing panel of him with his head over the toilet bowl, which you never see in a kid's comic.
No.
It was really pretty great. Okay, so here's another kind of friendship where they're a bit mismatched culturally.
It hasn't worked out, yeah.
Yeah.
They're too different.
Yes, they're too different. January, Robot's still buried under snow. He has a dream, we know, because for the wavy lines, where he just powers out of the snow, gets up, walks along, he's got 2 fine legs, knocks on Dog's door.
That's another way you know that it's a dream, usually, because he's whole. Yeah.
He's whole. But he sees Dog walking around with an identical robot to him, and then he hides behind a garbage can as they walk past, and they're laughing it up, they're having a great time, so Robot feels betrayed by this. This is all in the dream. And then he goes back, he buries himself back in the snow.
Yes.
And then we're back to where we started. Meanwhile, this is when Dog builds the snowman.
Yep. Which comes to life. Runs off.
Yes, he just leaves at the end of the day. They hang out for the day and then he goes away.
They hang out with the penguin?
Yes, that's after the next dream. Now, this dream, in this one, was a really interesting moment where Robot snaps the panel border, the actual drawing of the border of the panel. So he breaks through the panel and emerges into this like forest world and hangs out with this weird flower creature and has a lovely time and then just sleeps in the sun. He likes... People like napping and reading in this book, which is really also very interesting to me.
Because you like napping and reading.
Yes, and they're like, it's just relaxing is fun. They don't mind taking it easy.
It's a different focus in the film. People like eating in the film. Eating
and exciting stuff, dancing, like all sorts of excitement.
Eating and dancing, yes.
So as you said, Snowman. They have a friend with a penguin. We don't know when this friendship was formed or whatever. But they hang out, they watch hockey together, etc.
But in the end, the snowman, I think, decides that he wants to spend more time with Penguin than with Dog, and they go off together, essentially.
Yes.
And again, here's another, sometimes in a friend group, people grow closer, but then something odd happens.
Yeah.
Next, when the season changes, and it becomes spring, the penguin visits Dog, drops off the snowman's clothes, and then leaves.
Well, he gets a phone call first. So he phones Dog, and Dog has his hand on his chest like he's got some shocking news.
Yes.
And the shocking news is the snowman is melted.
Yeah, of course.
In March. So he gets gifted bequeathed his...
Yeah, that's right. He just gives him his clothes back and then leaves without speaking. So Penguin and Dog weren't friends. The common link with Snowman... Yes. Without Snowman, Penguin and Dog don't have anything in common.
That's right.
And the Penguin just goes.
Yeah, that's right.
After giving him the clothes back.
Yeah. Yeah. Before that happens, Robot has another dream where a bird comes along and lifts him out of the snow, and then he goes up and he's like on the moon or something. He's looking down at the earth, and then he's dropped back on the earth, and he looks, there's an amazing, beautiful full-page splash of him looking at like the frozen sea or something like that. It's all like really sparkly green. It's really an amazing, beautiful image. So now it's March. The robot thaws, right, because the snow melts. A bird comes along and builds a nest in his armpit, lays eggs, and he loves it. Robot loves it. He's so happy that this nest was there, and to see the birds and the little baby chicks hatching and flying away, and he just thinks it's glorious. But he's still stuck there. Then a scavenger comes along the beach.
With a metal detector. Or is that the film?
In the movie he's got a... Here he's just got a red trolley, or like he's picking up garbage and cans and bits. And he picks up Robot and he takes him to a scrapyard.
Yes.
He sells him to the scrapyard. The guy who runs the scrapyard just throws Robot on the pile and he smashes into pieces.
Yes.
You're really like, oh my god.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
That's horrifying. Incidentally, the guy in the scrapyard has a dog.
Yes. Yes. It's like...
it's a pet dog.
Yeah, it's like Goofy and Pluto.
Dog. Yeah.
Right?
It's like Goofy and Pluto. To me, like, I saw that, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's Disney rules.
Don't ask questions. Yes. Yeah, Disney rules.
Yeah. So June comes around, the beach is finally open for swimming again. So Dog shows up, but of course Robot has been carted away. But with his dog sense of smell,
he finds the leg.
He finds the leg. But he's sad, like, how can he ever find this robot? There's no way. So he goes to the shop. He sees like families in the park playing together and, having picnics in the park. All platonic stuff. Then he goes to a shop. If you can't tell where we're going with these comments. He goes to a shop to buy another robot. Now, he shows the leg to the shop guy, and they're like, well, the closest we got is one of the square head. The previous robot had the round head. So he buys this robot. He's going to build a new robot. So it's July. Now, we cut to this tinkerer. He looks like a kind of raccoon or something.
Yep.
And he's building his own
radio.
robot.
But he can't... No, he's building a radio.
That's right, he's building a radio.
And he can't get it to work. So he goes to
Well, he builds it, and it just, the noise comes out. It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he decides he needs some extra parts or what have you.
Yeah.
Well, we see him go to the junkyard.
Yeah.
And he's speaking to the junkyard guy. He's searching around through the scrap. He finds the robot. Why is the robot what you need to fix your radio? It doesn't matter, because again, this is...
Doesn't matter, but there's a great panel here where you have literal gears that are turning in his brain. Instead of like a light bulb, we've got gears turning in his head, and he's like, hey, I'm going to change his plan.
He knows that this robot is what he needs to fix his radio. It doesn't matter.
Or he's shifting gears. Literally shifting gears to like...
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Maybe I'll
make a robot instead.
Yeah.
So yeah, he takes the parts back, he sticks them on his radio, but it's still not working.
Yeah.
And at this point, the robot comes back to life and fixes himself, essentially.
This is a really key moment, I think, about, I don't know, Shel Silverstein in that 25-page book, The Missing Piece Meets the Big O, really nailed this kind of stuff in a concise way that I can't in words. But it's something about self-sufficiency or something like that in here.
For sure.
So he turns himself, some nice music comes out, and they have a big dance.
Did it bug you that he could suddenly move again after being rusted up?
No, I'm assuming he's been repaired. I mean, we don't see everything.
In the film, that we do see him oiling the robot. And when I saw that, I was like, thank God!
Yeah.
Because how did that robot fix himself when he was rusted for a year?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine.
We don't see the whole repair process. We get a montage, essentially, of 6 panels.
Yes.
But yeah, so they have
sort of stuck the legs and the arms and the head on and the radio is sort of now his torso.
Yes, and it is a mismatched leg, of course. And so they have they kind of dance to this great music that's now coming out of the radio that is his torso. As he said. So, meanwhile, Dog is building his own robot with the square head. And then it's August, so it's a year later. He goes to the library with the new robot, the squarehead robot, and they're looking at the Book of Dog Beaches. So they go to the beach, and this time he's like, no, you
don't go in the water.
Go in the water.
He stops him from going in the water.
Stops him. But it's not like you have to have a limited existence. This robot's quite happy to just suntan.
Yeah.
Sara Varon tells us how characters feel by the smiles on their faces. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
This is fine.
He's got no problem with not having a swim. He can just have a sunbathe and a read instead.
Yeah. He doesn't even read. He just naps.
Yeah.
He's quite happy with that.
In this case.
And then they go home. They've had a great day. They're both happy. So Raccoon and old robot, round robot, oval robot, are Laputa robot.
The dreaming robot?
Yeah, dreaming robot. They are back home. They're just reading in the evening. Raccoon decides to go to bed. He's tired. I just love the existence of these beings.
They don't seem to do any work.
Yeah.
Well, the guy in the scavenger in the junkyard guy did work, I suppose, but everyone else seems to lead a very leisurely existence.
Yes. So he puts down his book. He looks at the window, and he happens to see Dog walking by with his new squarehead robot friend. And he's shocked. There's even some robot quivering eyes, like he's about to cry. But what he does is he tunes himself, his radio, torso, and he emits some music out into the world, out through the window, towards Dog and new robot. And Dog hears that tune and starts whistling it. Now, we don't even know if he heard it consciously or he doesn't know where it's coming from. He's just unconsciously or automatically whistling the tune that is coming from somewhere. So, old robot is having an effect on Dog without Dog knowing it, or has had an effect on Dog without Dog knowing it. But old robot now has a new existence with Raccoon.
Yep.
Dog has a happy life with...
A friendship with the square-headed robot, new robot. Yeah.
Yeah. And
they've moved on. They've made new friends.
Yes.
and moved on.
But they have
the memories
shaped
there.
each other.
Yes, that's it. They still affect one another.
Yeah.
The people they are right now is a part of who they were in the past, and as resulting from the relationship they had with one another, which is nice.
Yeah.
So the theme is, I think, pretty clear throughout this about the nature of friendship, the changing nature of friendship, the fact that friends move on.
Yeah.
Old friends go you go your separate way. Old friends move on. Friends sometimes pass away or move away.
Yeah.
But you remember them.
Yeah.
You make new friends, but you remember the old ones.
Yes.
It's a lovely message.
And they are part of what you are.
Yes.
They have shaped what you are in some way.
Yes.
They're not there.
It's charming.
Yeah.
It's not heavy-handed at all. It's just...
No, it's really cleverly done. Efficient. Too efficient, maybe?
Yeah.
Some might say it's too efficient. Like, we could have had some details about him just walking away from the beach or not trying to help or all those
Well, it's okay, because you said, we're on the level of a fable, we don't need to worry too much about what is the social or legal status of robots.
Yes. Yes.
Or what are the responsibilities of Dog towards his robot charge.
Yeah.
We don't have to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Because we're getting a very surface level narrative.
Yeah.
It's very childlike. It's rather like a fairy story.
Yeah.
And this is a book, I think, it's often... it won numerous awards.
Right.
For children, like for children's fiction.
Yeah.
As well as for teens. And graphic novel, graphic art kind of awards as well.
Yeah.
So this is a book that's suitable for people of varying ages.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If you bought it for your kid, you would have to read it, because you would get more out of it than your kid would, I think, on certain levels.
Well, you'd get different things, and you don't even need to be able to read, because there's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue. There's a few bits of text in the world, like addresses and the names of the months and things like that.
Yes. Yes, the names of the months, yes.
Yeah.
But even then, I think you can get the gist of it even without having to read those.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's get to this movie, which just came out last year. Spanish production.
Yes.
Hand-drawn animation. I guess they might have used CG for bits and pieces here and there. I'm not sure. Maybe to help with the cityscapes. I'm not sure. So this was an Oscar nominee last year, which is how I first heard about it. Was by the way, there were two other
comic
Oscar
book movies.
Yes, Nimona and Spider-Verse 2.
Yes.
So we'll be getting to both of those at some stage as well. But I just didn't get to them when they came out.
Spider-Verse. We will get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
It's not a universe.
No, that's right.
So it's sort of on the list. We'll get someday.
That's right. It's not a cinematic universe. That's our hard line at the moment.
The hard line is cinematic universe. Yeah. Okay, so right away, one of the questions of the show is, I've realized, especially after doing Addams Family, is the real question of the show is when you have a visual medium going to another visual medium. It's not like going from a novel to a movie. We have a visual sense of the world already from the comics in everything that we've covered. And initially, when we started the show, I was like, well, we're not going to do any animation, because that's a cheat. You can just translate that directly. But that has not been the case.
No, it hasn't.
The animation we've done has not taken the visuals and translated that directly into a movie. They always try to reinvent it in some way. We've got a little bit of that here. So this is a way more detailed world than what Sara Varon did.
Yes.
There's probably a huge animation team working on this.
It's about 100 people.
Okay,
so not super huge, but 100 people is a lot of people.
Team, yeah.
In this case, the director, Pablo Verger, he originally approached a animation studio to help him make this, but the deal fell through when COVID began. And in the end, he, I think, essentially created his own animation studio in order to get this made.
Wow. So he wrote it too. So
he did write it.
Really,
he really
been invested in it emotionally.
Absolutely. I have a quote. There's not a lot of trivia about this film online because it's so recent, but there are a few interviews with Sara Varon and the director. And he says, "I got Robot Dreams in 2010 and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic and unique, and when I got to the end of the book, I was deeply moved. And when I'm talking about deeply moved, I was in tears. And I was visualizing the film while I was reading it. If the book moved me this deeply, I thought maybe I should make this film. I'd never made an animated film before. I came from live action. It's my 4th film. I've always loved animation as an audience, as a cinephile, but never in my life until I read this book, and the end moved me so deeply did I think about making one. So, kind of like M. Night Shyamalan, he came across the comic, but unlike him,
yeah,
he was inspired to make a good, faithful kind of adaptation instead of a terrible one.
Yes. So the character designs are pretty similar to Sara Varon's designs, I think.
Yes.
I think the world looks different, but the characters look much the same.
Yes.
Another interesting thing about this is so the place, as you pointed out, like this is very much New York.
Yes.
Where it was vague unless you looked at that postcard closely.
Yes.
In the comic, in this, but also the time is pretty specific. So he's playing Pong.
Yep.
Which makes it seem really old. But at one moment, there's a moment where picks up his mail, and there's a TV guide with Alf on the cover. So there's a specific window of time here where this has to be taking place. Yep. And it's important because there can't be any cell phones. There have to be pay phones. Yep. That's part of the whole plot is hinging on that, right?
Yeah. I think, But yes. It's located in space and time.
Yes. Yes, very much more than the...
In fact, it's something of a period piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're getting movies that are coming out, as you said, TV shows that are current at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that we can date this to kind of like the mid to late 80s.
Yes. Yes.
A film comes out. At some point, a film comes out, and I looked up the film.
What was it? I don't know, but I kept zeroing in. I was like, when is this? When is this? And then when I saw that Alf on a current TV guide, I was okay. This is when it has to be.
Yeah.
But another thing was what I thought was product placement,
right?
But was not.
No.
It seemed like early on he's drinking a tab, and you think, whoa, this is weird to see in a kids movie, like really blatant product placement. But then every product is named. It's not, they don't use fake names for anything, everything, Jelly Bellies.
And it's products that were popular at this time.
I think it's more than that, because when you see how detailed New York is, I feel like this is Pablo Verger's love of New York and America.
That's exactly right.
It's like, that is some fantasy land over there, across the ocean.
That's it. That's exactly right. Pablo Verger, I guarantee, was eating Cheetos.
Yeah. Yes.
And drinking Tab when he was living there. In the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
I've got another quote.
Okay.
I visited New York many times in the 1970s and 80s, and I lived there in the 90s when I studied at New York University to get my master's in film. This is a love letter from me and my wife, the associate producer, who was my closest collaborator in all my films. We really wanted to make a true period film and be faithful to the sounds, the look, the clothes, the stores, all those details, down to the sounds of the alarms, the ambulance sounds on the street. I love the idea of cinema as a time machine.
You get that, totally. The first 5 minutes, when Dog builds robot, and they go down the street, and then, as we said, Varon just like, okay, now they're at the library.
Yes.
Here we get the whole walk down the sidewalk, the subway ride, everything. You get to see all these characters. It's like Zootopia. It's populated with billions of anthropomorphized creatures of all casts, all types.
Yep.
You got your punks. You've got, who else? Like just parents with their kids, like everybody's out there. Every stripe, every walk of life.
People in jogging suits.
Yes.
As you said, gang members.
Yep.
They walk by gang members, people doing graffiti.
Yep.
Break dancers.
Yes.
People with afros.
Yep.
People with mirror shades.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yes.
And it's all of a time.
Yes. So, tonally, it's different from the comic in that sense.
Very.
Like the focus on the city as a specific place and time changes the tone.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think perhaps to the detriment of the narrative.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we've lost that timeless fable quality.
Yes.
And now we're grounded in a very real time and place.
Can you make
almost too real? Because now, now those questions that you hinted at when you were reading the comic, they are now coming to the front of my mind. I know what New York was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
And there weren't any robots with no rights.
Yeah.
So now I'm asking, hang on.
Yeah.
This is New York in the 80s.
Yeah.
You couldn't you couldn't mail order a robot that was be your slave. And the film...
Yes, but at the same time, you can't have a sentient dog. Dogs and cows and every other animal walking around.
But they're just people in different bodies.
Yes, except they do have the same animal. He wags his tail.
Occasionally they do gimmicky things.
Yeah.
Funny things.
Yeah.
Like when the dogs are playing frisbee in the beach, they'll toss it with their hands but catch it with their mouths.
Yeah.
Little things like that, little fun things. But in every other respect, they're like people in animal bodies. So you can say, oh, look, these are the people living in New York in this period.
Yeah.
And yet, now we've got things going on like mail order robots. And then the film leads into it, because when they're on the bus going to the beach, robot looks out the window and he sees another robot in a car.
That scene was like Ghost in the Shell when she looks out of the boat and sees the same model as her.
Yeah. What the hell is this in this movie? You know, because this robot, unlike him, is not happy. This robot is sad.
Yeah.
He's being whacked in the head by kids sitting in the seat behind him.
Yeah.
And you're watching this and you're just thinking, what is the status of this robot? This robot does not want to be in this car. It's at the mercy of the children behind it.
Yeah.
And to me, this is a problem for me, because I'm being taken out of what was, in the comic, a light-hearted romp, and is now becoming a period piece, and it's begging questions.
Yes, okay, lighthearted romp, I agree, but can you make an anthropomorphized parable into a movie? I don't think so.
I think, well, maybe not, but I think if you were going to go about it, you wouldn't set it in a specific year, and a specific place, and we can almost nail it down to the year and the place.
Okay, so what happens is he's at home playing Pong against himself.
Right back to the start, he's playing against himself.
He's got paddles, he's playing against himself. He looks out the window across to he sees his neighbors in the opposite building, and it's a cow and a moose who are in a romantic relationship.
Yes, they are.
And they're cuddling, and he feels sad and lonely.
Well, we don't know for sure that it's a romantic relationship, but we're pretty sure it is, because they're cuddled up. The cow has its head on the moose's shoulder and feeds him popcorn, if it's a him. I mean, assuming, And
I think there are clearer male-female lines in the movie.
Much clearer. Yeah. We have male and female characters. You know, when we're at the beach and people are sunbathing, people at the beach are wearing bathers. I mean, it's funny. They're nude when they're going about their lives. This is a classic kind of cartoon trope, isn't it? They're nude when they're going about their lives. When they engage in a special activity, they wear the costume associated with it.
There's a very specific joke about that in the movie.
Yes, when the
about dog nudity.
Tell it now, yeah.
So when he comes out of the water and he's drying off, he puts a towel around himself to
take off
hide his
to take off his board shorts.
And then he just takes off the towel.
Whips off the towel. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So why did he have... It's funny.
That is a good... Yeah.
When they're wearing these costumes, they're clearly... Some are wearing bikinis and some are wearing board shorts and Speedos.
Yeah.
So we have... And they're definite male and female animals, yes.
Yeah.
So, as you said, already we've moved beyond the realm of the platonic or the familial.
Yeah. And
we're already edging into the romantic.
Yes.
Is the dog... we know he's lonely. He's playing Pong by himself.
Yeah.
He's microwaving a macaroni and cheese dinner.
Yeah.
He's in an apartment with the lights off. We know he's sad. Then, to kind of really hammer it home, he looks over to next door. He can see them because they're quite close. They're in apartment buildings. There's a couple on the couch, cuddling, feeding one another popcorn. And he is envious because he's lonely. But is he envious because he needs a friend? Or is he envious because he needs a partner?
He needs a partner, and I'll tell you, there are details coming up that make it clear to me.
Yes, there are.
Okay. He goes to bed that night. He has robot toys on his windowsill. Mm-hmm. So he owns robots.
Yes.
Okay? Owns. This is the word I'm going to use. Very specifically. He orders a robot.
Yep.
It gets delivered. He builds the robot. The robot is born sexy yesterday. The robot is naive about the world, doesn't understand.
Was born yesterday. We haven't got to the born sexy yesterday bit yet. So he's naive. He has no knowledge of anything. As you said, he's born yesterday.
Yeah.
He's naive. He doesn't know anything about the world. Incidentally, his model is the Amica 2000.
Yes.
Amica is the Spanish word for friend.
Yeah.
And also, in a little bit of foreshadowing, Dog can't move the box that he's in. So the delivery person drops it off.
Oh, right.
And Dog is unable to shift the box.
Okay, right.
He has to open it right where the delivery person dropped it off. Which is a nice little piece of foreshadowing. But as you say, this thing's like a newborn.
Yes.
It has to be shown how to do everything. It reacts with delight at every new thing it sees, which is everything.
Yeah. Which we bypass all this in the comic.
Yeah.
He's just, in fact, they just go to the library. Now, here's the thing. When they're out having their day trip, whatever, walking in the park. In the comic, there's a moment where they go into the library and they're holding hands.
Yep.
They're friends.
Yep.
They're either like little kids or like college-aged Indian men who I see walking around holding hands all the time. That's when Indian men form their deepest bonds as in university. My dad had a friend from university that was a friend for like 60 years.
Okay.
So they're just friends holding hands.
Yes.
Here, there's a moment of like, ooh, should we hold hands? Like a romantic
We're definitely
hands?
getting a lot more focus on it than we were. In the comic, it just happens, yeah?
Yeah.
Because they're friends. Friends hold hands. But here, we have a lot of close-ups of the robot's fingers flexing, of him tentatively reaching out to Dog. He grabs Dog's hand, he squeezes him too tight, and Dog has to pull back, blow on his hands because he's been hurt.
Yeah.
But then they do end up, and then Dog reaches out and holds his hand. There's a lot of focus on hand holding all through this movie.
So Dog is sometimes annoyed by robots' naive energy.
Yep, he beats him at Pong, for example. He doesn't particularly like that. Yep.
Yep. Which is not a thing we get in the book where they're just like perfect for each other all the time.
But it's just a page or two that when they're, as you said, the first 40 pages they're already separated.
Yeah. So they go to the beach.
Yep. They ride the bus, as we said.
Yeah, they see the other robot.
Sees the other robot. Dog opens a bag of Cheetos.
Yeah.
Where in the comic it was reading in naps, here it's very much eating. Dog is always eating, taking a lot of pleasure from eating. And as you said, dancing, which they've done already. They did a roller skating dance to September, the song September.
Okay, this is going to be an issue. So they dance to Earth, Wind & Fire. September, in the park. They have a big dance number. Fine. Yep. I'm going to come back to that.
I'm so glad.
Okay. So
incidentally, while they're driving to the beach on the bus, they go past an inflatable flailing man. They didn't exist until the mid-90s.
Oh, okay. Okay. I also want to point out the movie they watch is Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
They don't watch
not Laputa. Yeah. Which is interesting because Verger said that he was a massive fan of Japanese animation growing up.
The irony here is that they lost the Oscar to Boy and the Heron, the Ghibli movie.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it's not... But I will say Oz is a... Look, okay, I'm going to skip way ahead to the dream, okay. They watch Wizard of Oz instead of Laputa. Now, Laputa has the robot that looks like robot. Yeah. Fine. In the dream sequence, in the comic where he goes to that forest land and he walks around with a weird flower creature, in the movie, he goes to Oz. And in Oz, you never see the Tin Man. There's no play on that. What a missed opportunity. Yeah. It seemed weird, right? Yeah. That they didn't have some kind of commentary on, some play on the Tin Man, anything. Strange.
Yeah, it is strange.
Anyway.
It's typical, though. I mean, this film's sort of about New York, and they've sort of shoved the comic book, the graphic novel narrative on top of it.
So they get to the beach. We have the rusting that happens. Actually, doesn't Dog drag the...
No, Dog doesn't want him really to go in.
Okay.
The robot sees some other animals playing in the water, and he gets excited.
Okay.
But he's already wearing water wings.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
You knew he was going to go in.
He was going to go in, but Dog reacts with trepidation as he's heading towards the water, acts like he's going to stop him. And then he does a big jump into the air and sort of bombs into the water. He stops moving, everyone's worried, but then he just gets up, he's fine, and they party. Okay, this is weird. Okay, so first of all, here dog tries to stop him. Why did he try to stop him when he was already wearing water wings? Who put water wings on the robot? It must have been dog. So he must have been going into the water eventually. It doesn't make sense. I think it's because in the film they go to pains to make dog more sympathetic than he was in the comic. In the comic, dog just wanders off when he can't move robot. Whatever. I'm just going to leave this here. In the film, we're shown that dog is much, much more concerned for robot's welfare.
Yes, and there's
he goes
more
to
of
much more effort.
There's a much more of a logical process of how am I going to save?
He goes to more effort.
Yeah, he goes to the payphone, but it's broken.
Well, yes, okay, yes. So the robot's rusted up, as you said.
Yeah. This is the 20-minute point.
He tries to lift him, and as we know, he can't. He can't move the robot. We've already seen when he tried to move the box that the robot is too heavy for him to move. He tries to drag him on the towel at the beach. Also, we're getting a lot of close-ups of Dog's face, and he's horrified. He's really, really worried about his friend.
Yeah.
As you say, he goes up to the boardwalk. He tries to call 911. He presses 911. We see him do it. He picks up the phone. No one talks in this movie, so I don't know what the hell he was going to do when it connected. Luckily for us, that's not a problem.
Well, here's a question. Do they actually talk, but we never see the conversations?
That's it.
Because when he finally abandons Robot, he leaves a blanket covering him, but the blanket blows away, and Robot doesn't ask him for help. Now, I'm not sure if people in this world don't speak, or is Robot's mouth rusted shut so he can't say, hey, the blanket blew away? Or...
No one speaks. People just indicate with their eyes when they want you to follow them. It happens all the time. So no one speaks. Any speaking that's occurring is happening.
So we're saying speaking is not possible?
It's just
because at one point,
speaking is possible.
His kid says yay when he shoots the thing at the Coney Island games, and somebody else laughs or something.
This is one of those things. These are questions. These are legitimate questions. These are questions you don't ask in a childlike comic.
Yeah.
But when we have this much more populated world, this much more tangible world with payphones, with government offices, with forms you need to fill out, packages you need to sign for, people you need to interact with, you start to wonder, when is the communicating happening?
Because there's an Indian movie, I'm not going to remember the title or say it, doesn't matter anyway, with no dialogue in it. This is from the 80s, I think, or the 90s. And the whole thing is it's structured in a way that you just don't... People never speak. We never see them...
Right.
It's not that they can't speak, it's just we're catching them in the moments when they're not saying anything.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. It's very cleverly done.
I think that's what they're doing here.
That's right.
But it's not...
But if that's the case, Robot should have said, hey, that blanket blew away. Or are we supposed to assume he can't speak because of the rust? Or is he just doesn't want to hurt Dog's feelings?
I think... Yeah, no, you're right. He's just not speaking because... He can't speak because this is a dialogue-free film. So, as you say, it raises questions.
Yeah, but what's the in-story reason that he's not speaking?
There is no in-story reason. It's what you would call a plot hole, essentially. There's no in-story reason why... Okay, they erect a fence in front of on the boardwalk, a huge fence with barbed wire on top. A beach is fenced off over winter with enormous barbed wire.
Well, it's in the comic as well.
In the comic, it's just a chain that says beach closed.
No,
right?
it is
or a gate.
No, there's barbed wire.
No, you're right. It's a gate. Yeah. Okay, fine. In the comic, that's fine.
Yeah.
In the comic, a beach can be fenced off.
Yeah.
However, this is a grounded New York world.
Yeah.
And he goes back to the beach, and now suddenly there's a Stalag-Luft kind of chain link fence with barbed wire on the top, and he can't get in. He's trying to get in because he cares a lot more in this one. He doesn't just give up immediately. He's trying to force his way through. Then a police officer comes.
Security man, yeah.
Yeah, or a security guard, and forces him to leave.
Yeah.
And then
he goes to City Hall. He tries to get the paperwork through.
But here's the thing. Oh, sorry. We will go to City Hall. Sorry. I'd lost my train of thought. What I was going to say is, they erected that fence. The robot is lying in plain sight.
Yes.
He's about 15 meters.
Yes.
Or less away from the fence. There is no way they didn't see him.
Yes.
When they put up that fence. The robot could have called out
for
help. Or
people don't care about robots in this.
Well, exactly. But these are the questions.
Yes. But it
just raises more questions.
Yes, but you're right but it's the same in the comic in that they put this fence around the robot that's lying on the...
But I don't care because it's just an ephemeral...
Exactly. No, you're right. You're right. But the thing is, they've answered some questions in this movie, which they've answered some of the questions, not all of them.
It raises... Right? But the
they've answered 5 questions, but not 6 and 7.
The trouble is, with every question you answer...
Yeah.
You raise more questions.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. So in the comic, the dog just walks away.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's a bit weird. But you just turn the page, the thing's moving so fast.
Exactly. It just moves on.
In the movie, he tries to call for help. He tries to get in, security guard denies him entry. Exactly. Then he goes to City Hall. He comes back, he tries to break in, and then he's arrested.
Yeah.
So now we've got a list of logical reasons for him not to help.
The trouble is, each of those questions... Sorry, go on. Let you finish.
But we don't... I don't know where I was.
Sorry.
So in the comic as well, we don't know why they erected the fence with the robot there. But here's my point. There's like when the scavenger comes along, in the comic the scavenger just comes along.
Yeah.
But that's actually a plot hole because the beach is closed off. And they answer that in the movie. He sneaks in past the fence. So they've answered 5 questions 1 through 5, but they've created 6 and 7, or they haven't answered 6 and 7.
Sure. You're right, they do answer some questions, but the trouble is that the scavenger one's a good example of one that just ties itself up neatly. But with a lot of those, the things where Dog encounters problems with trying to rescue Robot, I feel like a lot of them just raise more questions. So Dog goes to the phone, tries to call 911. He can't because the phone's been cut. Oh no. But then that's where it ends. But we now know that phones exist in this world. Why can't he go to another payphone? Or, what about when he gets home to his apartment? His apartment which has a phone.
Yeah.
He can't call 911 anymore? What's the difference? It's only been a couple of hours.
Yeah.
We know that calling 911 was an option. He could have called 911 to get someone to rescue his robot friend.
Yeah.
But once the phone's cut, it's like that option vanishes. And I'm watching, I'm like, why doesn't he just call from another phone? Why doesn't he... Like, also, when the security guard comes, as you say, he's forced away by the security guard. Again, fine. God, I sound like a fucking pedant. But they have the confrontation where the security guard forces him away within eyeshot of the robot.
Yeah. Well, I bought that because the security guard was just being belligerent.
Right.
He wasn't listening to what Dog was saying. Dog, I think, was pointing at the robot saying, hey, my robot. And the security guard was just, get out of here. Like, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I bought that. Okay. That was fine. But you're right about the phone. Like, it just adds another layer. There's no phones of any type in the comic. There's no cell phones or other types of phones. There's just no option. We're not shown a fully realized world. It's not the point, in the comic.
And I feel, I feel like they're at loggerheads. On the one hand, you want to tell this fable-like story. But on the other hand, you also want to show a very real slice of New York, albeit populated by anthropomorphic animals. And I feel like those two aims are rubbing up against one another and creating kind of friction that takes me out of the film.
Yeah. Okay, so the rabbits show in the canoe. The rowboat show up on the beach. The same thing. They've sprung a leak. They make for the beach. Yeah, this plays out a little bit differently because they oil him up.
No, they don't. That's a dream again.
Sorry. They show up. They give him oil. He leaps over the fence. There's no fence in the comic. It's a dream, and there's no fence. He just goes. So he he jumps over. But then in the movie, he goes back to the apartment with Dog. Dog's not there, but then there's the knocking sound. And he wakes up and they're bashing. And then we realize it's a dream in the movie.
You're right.
So
we don't get the fuzzy panel border.
We don't get the fuzzy panel, the wavy panel border that tells you this is a dream. They don't telegraph that to you.
No, they don't.
They try to trick you, which is important for later in the movie. At this point, I was like, well, that's a change why they do that. And I was questioning it a little bit, because at a later stage, it's very clear that he's dreaming. But anyway.
Here we don't. I actually thought that they were oiling him.
I did too.
I thought they'd changed it.
Yeah, I did
thought,
too.
okay, so these aren't... Because here a consequence of the longer runtime, we need more detail in everything. The rabbits aren't just careless rabbits, show up, fix their leak, leave. We get a lot more about, we spend a lot more time with these rabbits, so the behaviour becomes a little more concerning. They're now like sociopathic rabbits.
Yes. Because
they're cruel.
Robot is like awake and like
he's
looking
smiling
at them.
Looking at them. He still can move his mouth, can smile or frown, and they hack off his leg anyway.
And then the captain shows a little bit of kind of guilt,
which just makes it worse.
Yeah, like he knows he did something wrong as they leave.
He looks back as they're leaving. He looks back.
Yeah,
and it's like
as opposed to just being like
a force of nature,
ignorant.
Almost. Yeah,
like they just like, oh, here's a leg we can use.
They were just like a force of nature. They just blew in, took a leg to fix their boat, blew away. Here now, because we get more of a story, more of a sense of the inner world of the rabbits.
Yeah,
we see like that the captain of the rabbits is bossy, that the rowers are a bit hard put on.
Yeah.
As we flesh them out, the trouble is, the more you flesh them out, the more you start wondering why they're doing something so cruel.
Yes. But there is a shot where the three rabbits are looking down. We get a robot eye view, which is exactly out of the comic, maybe the moment that's closest. We get another dream where the robot, this is one where robot goes back and he dreams of seeing Dog with a replacement identical robot. This is the one where he is, I think it's in this moment where Robot is whistling the tune to September.
Right.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. And when this scene happened, I was like, oh, I know what they're going to do at the end of the movie.
Yes.
It's going to be this tune. Now, we don't have the calendar title cards in this movie. It's all done through visual storytelling. Mm-hmm. But the use of the song September kind of places it in September, right? A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, but I just predict it. Now, the thing I love about the comic was when Robot plays that music out of his radio chest at the end, it's just some music.
Yeah.
Which Dog picks up on. It's not some historical song, the song that they have some history together with. It's just some effervescent, is that the word, thing that is affecting Dog.
Yeah. Here it's a definite reminder of something.
It's a reminder of our history together, which I didn't like. I mean, it's not like a huge thing.
Emphasis.
It's just a tiny thing that, a different emphasis.
Yeah.
Which I felt, I predicted it from this moment.
Yep. Saw it coming. Yep.
Okay, meanwhile, Dog is hit at the ski slopes. This time the anteaters are like bullies.
Yeah, they're not friends this time.
They're not friends, and we don't get the scene of eating ants here. No. We get the scene of ants later at the camping scene, and it doesn't even affect him.
So
there's no toilet.
He doesn't notice it's a gag.
Yeah,
that he eats ants accidentally without noticing, and then when his partner's caught a lot of fish, all he's caught is a bunch of ants in his Cheetos.
Yeah,
funny, I guess, but way to ruin the message about the different nature of friendships.
Yes, exactly, about people that you can't fit in with.
Yeah,
just for like some.
Instead, they're just bullies now.
Yeah, that was like each of the friendships in the book is
a different kind of, I suppose, failed relationship.
Yeah.
Well, not failed relationship, but a different kind of ephemeral friendship that didn't endure for whatever reason.
Yeah.
He's one with Robot. He's one with the ducks that leave. He's one with the anteaters with whom he has not enough in common, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Here, they've abandoned that.
It's just him being lonely again. Like he can't make friends with anybody, or he's being bullied.
Weird.
Yes. Okay. We get a dream where this is a good one, where the frame of the movie actually is smaller, so that Robot is actually able to break down through the bottom of it into the actual black frame of the movie.
Yeah.
And then actually goes and turns, rotates the whole aspect ratio around. Yeah. And then you see like the Land of Oz on the other side. Very clever moment.
Yeah,
very clever adaptation of what Sara Varon did in the comic.
Yes. It is, pure adaptation.
The cinematic equivalent.
Yeah. Yes.
Pure adaptation. It was a really good moment. We have a huge dance scene in Oz.
Yeah, okay.
Not necessary.
Dancing, no, it wasn't. But again, as you say, naps and books have been replaced with food and dance in this one, so whatever.
Yes.
That's what people dig. They dig dancing.
Yes. Okay, so Dog builds a snowman.
Yeah.
Goes bowling with him. Snowman bowls with his head, which I feel is something I've seen before somewhere.
Yeah.
Where somebody pulls off their head and uses it as a bowling ball.
Yeah. I think it's a trope.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's definitely a thing.
Better look it up on TV tropes.
I'll look it up on TV tropes. But here, to digress again, or to return to my theme of being pissed off at this film because it's too grounded. Mm-hmm. Why is Snowman coming to life?
Yes. but it turns out to be a dream.
Was it?
Yes, absolutely. Because at the end of it, Dog has this fumble on the bowling alley, and he falls, and everybody's laughing at him. And Snowman reaches down his hand, and then when he reaches up, Snowman turns into robot, and then he wakes up in bed.
Oh,
so
I watched it more than once trying to figure out what was going on, and it was not clear to me that it was a dream. It was
one of Dog's dreams.
Okay, I see.
But it's the same with the Anteaters. You've removed a relationship, a form of friendship out of the book. One of the lessons of the book has been removed for this weird sequence with the Snowman, which, even in the comic, you're like, okay, snowmen can come to life in this world just because you put a carrot in their nose.
Yeah, well, I was
and you're like, okay, go past it. You're flipping pages. I read this like 3 times.
Yeah.
In the movie, you're like, whoa, this is New York in 1987. Alf's on TV, and the snowman is coming to life.
Why is he coming to life?
This is weird.
Also, unlike the robot, the snowman has friends already.
Yes, already has friends. You're like, what's going on? He knows everybody at the bowling alley already.
So he's not born yesterday.
No.
He's born with a life.
Yes.
Which he's already been living.
So why was he away? Was he away? It doesn't make any... But it's a dream.
It's a dream, okay.
It's all a dream.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So now we get the March thaw. The bird builds a nest in the armpit again.
Yep.
As in the comic. Except this time it uses more like trash, whereas in the comic it's quite beautiful, like the branches and stuff that the bird brings in. Even this bird, I noticed like the eyelashes on it was like feminized.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Many characters.
Yes.
So like immediately after this we get the scene with the kite. There's a long sequence where he goes to Chinatown. Dog goes to Chinatown to buy a kite.
Yeah.
But then
we need to fill up that hour and 40 minutes.
There's kind of some filler stuff in here. So he ends up buying a discount kite. Doesn't matter. Goes to the park. He gets struggling with it.
You need you need someone to help you.
You need sort of help. And there's a lady duck there. Now, unlike the comic,
duck,
which is in the comic, it's just a duck, a genderless duck, like a realistic. It's like a duck-like creature.
Yep. It's an anthropomorphic.
It's more duck-like. This looks like a character from DuckTales.
Yep.
This lady duck.
She has an hourglass figure.
Yeah.
And is wearing female attire.
Yeah.
And has like feminine lashes and things like
yes.
that. She's clearly a lady duck, and he's clearly a male dog.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So they start after this kite. Like he gets her phone number. Like that's coding for a date, right? There's no doubts in this movie. This is date territory. So they go camping together, but it's not the whole family. It's a romantic camping trip for two.
Right. This is when they go fishing, and he gets the ants in his Cheetos and eats them.
Yep.
She catches a whole bucket of fish. He catches one fish, feels sorry for it, and tosses it back.
Yeah, but then she catches
the exact same fish straight away, which I admit I laughed at.
I did. You know the thing that I laughed at? I think it's around here is him reading Pet Sematary.
Yes.
Because I was like, wait a second, what are pets? Is it just a cemetery in this world? It's just a regular cemetery.
Yes, I like that too. And also, it was also very funny because of the cover of the book Pet Sematary is the cover of the first edition of Pet Sematary, which famously has a cat.
Yes.
On it, pulling like a horrible face.
Yeah.
And we've got the same one, yet in a cartoon style.
Yeah.
It really tickled me. I'll probably put it on the Facebook.
Yeah, it's a really good moment. So she sends a postcard that she's moved to Europe.
Yep.
Instead of flying to Florida...
She's moved to Spain.
Yeah, she's moved to Spain. Which is not the bird-like behavior that we had in the comic where they flew south for the winter and said we'll be back in the spring.
No.
She's just like, I'm moving to Europe forever.
Yep.
Didn't tell him.
Yeah, because she signs it besos, kisses in Spanish. So that pretty clearly signifies that she's going to settle in Spain. She's already picking up the language, right?
Yeah, well,
yes, this is different.
This
isn't seasonal migration. She's ghosted him. See, I used that incorrectly before, but now she's very much ghosted him, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
This was a romantic.
Yeah.
It's heavily coded as romantic relationship.
Yeah. And
now she's ghosted him.
Yeah. So this time we get the scavenger as a detectorist who uses a metal detector.
Yeah. We have another 80s moment. Someone walks by carrying a painting. It's like a yellow painting. It looks like Mickey Mouse with a red crown.
Okay.
It's very much the style of Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Oh, right. I have to say, this movie was packed with details, background details that you have to watch 5 times to catch them all. Because I did go back certain scenes. I was like, oh, I better watch that scene again. And then saw 3 more things that I didn't see, like the beach scene and stuff. Like even the thing about the frisbee that you mentioned with the dogs catching them. Like you just don't notice this stuff. It's happening.
There is a lot going on.
There's a lot.
It's so dense.
Yeah. So he gets taken to scrapyard. Actually, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when the scrapyard owner, after buying the robot as junk parts, drags it down the stairs and his head is bumping on the steps as they go down. That was a cool moment.
Yeah. Again, how is the robot being sold as scrap? I mean, it's plainly, he's looking around.
Yeah.
I look past this in a comic, 200-page comic, where we have, but here, I'm wondering, is this slavery? Is this the slave market?
Yeah. But the scene where he dumps him, like in the comic, it's 1 page. In the movie, it's kind of a sequence where he swings him around. Almost parallels the dance sequence in the park with Dog, where Robot was swinging Dog around. But I'm not sure what the thematic parallel there isn't.
I can't think of one. It's like throwing the hammer. He tosses it on top of the junk pile, and again, it breaks up.
Yeah.
And he shuts down.
Yes. So now we get this Tinkerer that shows up. We haven't seen him building a radio beforehand. This character, the raccoon, shows up at the scrapyard. He's got some sort of part, some sort of meter, which I didn't understand what was happening here. He gives the meter to the scrapyard owner. The owner goes through his own junk pile and then is hugely excited when he finds a similar meter.
Okay, so he's paying with the meter for the robot? I don't really know.
Yeah, but why does the junkyard owner care that he found an identical one in his already existing pile?
Maybe he wanted to replace... Maybe he was there to fix the broken meter.
Oh.
He needed a new meter. That one was broken, and he needed a new one of the same type. The junkyard...
But then why did he need to find the old one that wasn't working?
Well, the old one, maybe the one in the junkyard was working, or he needed it for parts.
Oh, okay.
So he needed to fix the meter. That's why he was there. So instead of radio this time, he's there for that meter. Meanwhile, while the junkyard guy says, we got one of these.
Yes, you're right. Yep. Because this guy is a handyman in an apartment building.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. All right.
But while the crocodile junkyard guy is doing that, he spies the robot and decides that he wants it. It's going to be a project.
Yeah.
So he picks up head, the arms, and 1 leg.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, not the torso this time. For whatever reason, I think it's smashed up completely. We do see a scene of it completely spilling out all of its innards.
Yes.
So he just takes those back. So here he's interested in the robot.
Yes.
Not so much as a way to fix his radio. And in fact, we see a scene where he's laid it out on the operating table, a bit like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And he's looking for things
Frankenstein.
Yeah. And he's looking for things that will be a substitute torso. Yeah. It's like Frankenstein. He's trying to find the parts in his big, because he, as you said, he's a handyman.
Yeah, and then when he rises, when he comes to life, you just see the shadow on the back of his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the end, the radio, well, it's not a radio this time, it's a tape deck.
Yes.
An 80s style boombox.
Yeah.
Nice touch. That will serve as the body. And this time we see him oiling the arms, which I was pleased to see. and he gives it power as well. He fills it with a lot of, again, like a boombox from the 80s, about 16D batteries.
Yes. Yes.
And then, as you say, he comes to life. Meanwhile, Dog has tried to find him at the beach. Again, like last time, hasn't been able to find him, has only found the discarded leg, similar to the comic. Once again, is lonely. And this time, again, he goes to the shop and they offer him robots, but he's not interested in them. And then he gets the gold robot with the square head. Where does he get it from? He gets it from like a second-hand, like a market, is it?
Oh.
It's not a brand new robot, right?
This is a good question. I thought he did buy it from that shop. But
so he did buy it from the shop, maybe? Or is it... Oh, no, I think it's the raccoon that goes to the second-hand market.
Raccoon finds tapes at the
and a leg.
Market.
And a leg.
Yes.
And a replacement leg. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So Raccoon and Robot start living this life together, which is very content. We get a montage where they're watching fireworks and they're working on the apartment together, taking out the trash even. It's just like just a part of life. They're just, just living their lives.
So here, Robot has spent more time with Raccoon than he ever spent with Dog, because we're seeing a montage of more than one day, whereas I'm pretty sure that Dog and Robot were only together for a single day.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Or maybe 2 days. I think maybe, they didn't spend one night together.
Yeah.
Because he slept on the couch. The robot slept on the couch. So they spent, 2 days together.
Yes.
So it was very much a whirlwind relationship.
Right, okay.
The flush of first friendly passion.
Right.
Whereas this one he's settled into with Raccoon is a lot more kind of as you say, sedate.
Yes.
A lot more of a grounded relationship, you might say.
Yeah. So they're having a barbecue on the roof of their apartment building.
Yes.
Robot goes down to get some ketchup. He looks at the window. He sees Dog walking along with the Squarehead robot.
Yep.
We get a memory montage of all their... Now, this was actually good in my mind, because that's what it's like. You see that ex-girlfriend, and it's like that flash of all those moments.
I mean, I might as well say now, this is my favourite part of the film.
Yeah.
Everything from here to the end, I think, is really good.
Yeah. There's a fetishized shot of the two towers, a couple of them here, where that was like a real giveaway that, this guy loves New York. So Robot, opposite of the comic, to the point that I was getting angry, runs out, but not quite yet. He runs out as if he's going to try to catch Dog and say something to Dog. And there's a moment where Dog and New Robot are standing at a crosswalk waiting for the light to change. And Robot starts reaching out. And I'm like, oh no, he's going to touch him and they're going to talk. And it's not going to be like the comic.
Yep.
It's going to be the opposite of the comic.
Yep.
And then the light changes. They start to walk again. But then he does reach out to Dog. Dog turns to look at Old Robot. And it's like, Old Robot. And New Robot's looking like the new girlfriend. Like, who's this person?
Yeah.
Dog hugs Old Robot, whoa, what is this relationship,
Well, we get a lot of shots of New Robot looking very anxious.
Yes.
Not understanding what's happening.
Yep.
Obviously, I mean, he's a literal newborn, and Dog is all that he...
Yep.
Dog is his entire world, if we go by the internal logic of these movies, of this movie. And meanwhile, Dog is embracing this robot with a boombox for a chest.
Yes.
And Old Robot notices that, right? He sees New Robot's anxiety.
Yeah.
I think drops the ketchup, and then he wakes up back in the apartment.
Well, Raccoon shows up first behind him.
Right. That's the other thing. That's very important. You're right. How did I forget that? Yes. Sorry. Raccoon taps him on the shoulder with a spatula.
Yeah.
And Old Robot turns around, sees Raccoon.
And I was going to be... At that point, I was like, okay, so they've changed the ending in a way that we're still going to see that we have... Robot has a new life with Raccoon, and New Robot has a life with Dog, and that's going to be it. And it's okay, that's a substitute.
Yeah.
But that's not how it goes.
No, because as you said, after Raccoon shows up, we see Old Robot looking at New Robot and at Raccoon. He comes to a kind of realization.
Yeah.
Drops ketchup. And then he also drops it back in the apartment, which is, of course, where he is, because he's just had a waking dream.
It's a fantasy sequence.
Yes. And now, of course...
I love that. He's still looking at them.
That's very cool.
It's great because it justifies the change in the dream sequences from earlier in the movie that were not like the comic, because they tried to fool you in some of them. Not like some of the ones, like once you get to the Oz one, it's really obvious that it's a dream. But that one with the rabbits. Yeah. So now you're like, oh, we've set a precedent for this type of trickery.
Yeah.
We have a very clever ending here.
Yes. So now he's where he was. Now he has a choice. Does he chase him down again and do a reunion? No, he decides not to. And presumably he decides not to because he realizes it's not just him and Dog anymore. Yeah. There are two more people who are involved. Yeah. And he knows he will bring, presumably, disruption to their lives if he goes down and reunites with Dog.
Yeah, and which is a good life. Like, he's in a good life.
He's in a good
better
life.
Than any life he had with Dog.
Yeah, exactly, because that was just like a day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here, the messaging here is really clear. You don't crash land your life in the life of your old romantic partner when they've moved on. Yeah. And you also have moved on. Yes. So instead he blasts out September on his boombox. and they have a bit of a distant dance.
Dog is dancing because he hears the music come from somewhere. He starts dancing that song he used to love.
Yeah.
And Robot's dancing up in the loft to that same song. And as Dog's spinning around, he thinks he sees Robot up in that window, but he looks up there and there's nothing there, and Robot is hiding.
Yeah, Robot's hidden,
He's hiding behind the window frame so that Dog doesn't see him because he knows he's been kind of spotted. But then they just carry on, and we get the second shot of the Twin Towers and the New York skyline, and then it's roll credits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the credit is, in Spanish, is based on the graphic novel.
Basada en la novela gráfica.
Novela gráfica.
De Sara Varon,
Yeah, okay, so there we go. Now, trivia.
I'll get onto it. Is it worth... I mean, I've already made it pretty clear. It's interesting that online there is nothing about this film being about love.
Right.
Certainly not romantic love. Mm-hmm. It's usually they're talking about friendship.
Yeah.
But to me, this is not about friendship.
No, not at all.
I don't understand how anyone could think that. With the hand holding, and then the very definite message at the end about exclusivity.
Yes. Yes.
So this to me is about romantic love, definitely.
Yeah.
Trivia. Okay. As I said, they set up their own animation studio in order to do this. Sara Varon was involved in a small way. She said she drew some concept art, but she defined her role mostly as cheerleader for the project. She was on board with it. She joked that she might have been more on board if she didn't draw so slowly. Apparently she's... Apparently she's... No, and as I said, Berger, the director, he was a fan of the graphic novel. And he knew when he read it that he wanted to make a film of it. And he said it just fell into place after that. He was invited to be a juror at the Chicago Film Festival, so he flew to America. This would have been not too long after he read it, I suppose. And he had a layover in New York, which of course is where Sarah lives, Sara Varon. And he went to visit her and told her that he wanted to make it into a film. He said, "I love your book. I want to make a 2D film of robot dreams." They met in the Lower East Side in a coffee shop. And she said, "Oh my God," and told him that she'd already been approached by a big animation studio to make a 3D film.
That sounds like Pixar to me.
Might have been. Might have been. Apparently that was in 2008, but that never eventuated. No, but she was, apparently quite happy with the fact that Berger was a fan and said that she gave him carte blanche to make the film, essentially. And that's pretty much all we have about trivia.
Should we do our ratings?
Oh, we're really cracking the whip here. Yes, let's do our ratings. All right, what do you think of the comic?
I love the comic. Thought it was really surprising. That's all I have to say about it. It was strangely deep and strangely exciting. And that's about the size of it. Yeah.
I think I'm also going to vote yay. As you say, I think thematically it's a very neat piece of work. We get... It's very tight. I love that the fact that it doesn't have dialogue, and yet we're very aware of what's going on all the time. Over 200 pages, which I think is a good feat, and yet it never outstays its welcome.
Yeah,
it's a very smooth, tight piece of quote unquote writing.
Yeah,
I should say drawing.
Yeah.
So to me, it's going to be and of course it's something that you could give to your kids. It's something that you could give to your parents.
Yeah.
It's suitable for everyone, and it's a real piece of art.
Yeah. How about the movie?
The movie I don't like as much. I think that's probably come across a bit.
I don't like it as much either, but I'm going to give it a yay.
Good.
I think if you haven't read the comic, it holds up pretty well for the things it's trying to do. I think the problem is it's not... Because you've made it a romantic message, it's not universal. Everybody has friends. Are the under 10s in the audience really going to care about this love, the loneliness of Dog versus wanting friendship? We don't even know that Dog wants a friend. Like, when he builds Robot, we don't have any scene previous to that. He orders Robot. That's the first scene of the comic.
Well, we just know that... We just see him playing Pong by himself,
In the
eating a
movie.
microwave. Oh yeah, in the movie.
But in the comic, there's nothing.
No, it's just a guy that builds a robot.
He builds a robot. Those art reference might have been there from before. Like, we don't know. You know what I mean? So...
Yeah. As far as writing this goes, Varon just wanted to write a story about a robot.
Yeah.
Is basically how it started. Apparently she knew someone that was doing an anthology of robot stories.
Oh, okay.
And she said, it seemed like a good experiment because I'd never drawn a robot character.
Yep.
It began as an 8-page story with the dog building a robot and abandoning him on the beach. She then goes on to say, this is interesting, I didn't think about it too much, but in hindsight, I'd recently put my dog to sleep and I felt really horrible about it.
Jeez.
Like I'd abandoned her. So I think that feeling of abandoning a good friend was at the core of it.
Wow.
She goes on to say, but as it turned into a full-length book, it became something else.
Yeah.
I didn't know quite how the story would end, but I knew that they wouldn't get back together.
Okay. Yep.
For me, the film, it's a nay.
Okay.
I think probably I wouldn't have liked it even if I hadn't read the comic first. I think it's a bit too long. It has a little too much filler.
Yes, it could be shorter. You're exactly right. Every scene, the dance in the park, the sledding, everything is made into a set piece.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be a set piece.
And I've seen reviews that said that it felt like multiple films. As you said, set pieces.
Yeah.
That kind of... Most reviews of this are positive.
Yeah,
You know, but
sure.
there are the odd ones. People did tend to like this movie. But yeah, I feel like it's too long. It has too much padding. And as I've said, I find it grating that we have this incredibly detailed and researched New York setting along with this fantastical narrative with robots coming to life. And I feel like they don't gel. I was being taken out of the movie too much by like, why doesn't he just tell someone the robot's on the beach? You know, why doesn't the robot just say something to these people that keep coming up to
I think he tried to tell City Hall that his robot friend was on the beach, and they just wouldn't open the
Well, I mean, he did go to City Hall. We don't see why they wouldn't let him on the beach.
No, we don't see why. But
to me, like, it just raises questions. Why don't you just tell them there's a passed out person on the beach? So what are the status of robots? You know, he couldn't say, there's a robot on the beach that's alive, I need you to rescue it. I'm just asking questions now. Are robots just... Did Dog build a sex slave?
Yeah.
In that first scene? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, no,
is this like
questions.
Is this like Humans, that that TV show with the sex bots?
Yeah.
Is this like Ex Machina?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we saw that at IMAX a few months ago. But unfortunately, these are the kinds of questions that are... And it's taking me out of the film. So for me, unfortunately, it's a no.
Okay. Adaptation for me is a nay because of the change of theme.
Yes.
So for me, the original authorial intent, theme, and tone, those are all important when we get to adaptation. And I feel it's changed the theme, especially. The change in tone is okay. It's a translation, and the director has this love of New York. I was okay with that. But yeah, I think the book is universal, the movie is not, is my feeling about it.
I agree completely. I think some of those changes, I don't understand why turn the anteaters into bullies. To me, that mangles the theme.
Yeah.
The theme was supposed to be, was it deliberate so that we would focus more on the singular romantic relationship? Is that why ducks are female?
Yeah.
Yeah, because ducks are female. I mean... As I said, that's coded as a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And she's not like a friend that flies south for the winter. She just bails on him, right? Because she's had enough.
That's right.
And I feel like these changes, as you say, these aren't good changes. I feel like they're not... the film doesn't feel consistent. It's been fractured in this sense.
Yeah. In terms of adaptation, absolutely.
In terms of adaptation, yeah. I also feel like, as an adaptation also, the choice to have no dialogue... Now, I know why they've done it. It's because the comic has no dialogue. But this is an hour and 40-minute film. This is a long time to not have any dialogue.
Well, like I said, there's that Indian film that did it very cleverly.
Probably did it
better. It can be done. And I'm sure there's others out there that have done
I'm sure it can be done. But I think it's part of the problem here. Because not having the dialogue means that you're asking, why doesn't he
say something?
Say something.
Yes. In certain moments, yes.
Yeah.
That's an absolute question.
So I think, on the one hand, they've deviated from the themes too much, but on the other, they've too closely taken this element of the comic, the fact that there's no dialogue, and it just kind of like it interferes with the narrative and creates plot holes, essentially.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, I'm also voting nay.
Okay. Okay, please like, rate, review, subscribe on whatever your platform is. Please join our Patreon.
Yes.
To help us keep the lights on and pay for hosting fees and the material that we cover on the show. Please join us on
Instagram. Follow us on Twitter.
Yes, Instagram for the reels, Facebook for the memes, Twitter. You can DM me on any of those platforms, I think, or you can email us at the email address in the show notes.
Fantastic.
I think that's all of it. I haven't done this in a long time. I can't remember if I've covered it all.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay, next week we're going to cover Virus from 1999 in honor of the passing of Donald Sutherland. I think it's his only movie on the list, because that's why we're doing it. It's a bit of a cheat.
Kumar, how could you say that? He was President Stone in Astro Boy.
Oh my God! Of course, of course.
Sorry, you can cut that if you want.
No. Yes, but this movie will be a bit of a cheat for reasons we will explain next week. So it's from 1999 with Jamie Lee Curtis and the Baldwin that no one likes, I think, William Baldwin.
I can't wait. I haven't seen that. I can't wait.